have the time?
1:30.
Lucky I didn't show up in my pajamas.
Welcome to episode 31 of the Columbo podcast, where we always show up in our pyjamas.
I don't usually wear anything to bed.
I'm glad you said to bed and not to the podcast. It's not what I'm after of an evening after my dinner.
No, unfortunate.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Good. Enjoy this episode.
I did.
Interesting one.
Definitely different.
Big names.
Mm-hmm.
Star names. Great performances.
Yep, and a twist at the end.
Twists. Unusual ending.
Very unusual.
Weak clues. Weak evidence.
Maybe we'll review that at the end, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. I think, well, for me, without giving too much away, it's an episode which I thoroughly enjoy, but one of the ones that I think the episode is stronger than the constituent parts, if you look at it.
Well, I suppose there's the difference between looking at it as an entertainment show and looking at it as a detective show.
But just, to remind people, because I think sometimes people might, big fans of Columbo, which all our listeners surely are, might sometimes find it annoying that we pick apart the show. But that's the whole point. There's no point in sitting, talking about it, going, no, that's great. Loved that. That was brilliant.
Yeah. And there's a degree of affection anyway in the way that you do it, and I'm just being as honest as I can with what I'm watching.
Mm-hmm. We
should probably say we're starting a new season, so we should maybe go back over the concept of the podcast.
Go for it.
Okay, I've explained this. It's maybe the 6th time round we've done this, but the basic premise of the Columbo podcast is that I am watching these episodes chronologically, having never watched Columbo before, really, or at least with no memory of it from when I was younger. So I'm coming to these new 21st century point of view. I know what's on television nowadays, so it's with that sort of experience. Whereas you, Gerry, are one of the world's leading Columbo experts, and you're able to keep me right when I make mistakes and point out all the facts and figures and information about the episodes.
Yeah, you're almost right. I mean, I'm just a long-term fan, no expert, and lots of things I get wrong, as is picked up in the blog on Twitter. Yeah, so yeah, pick me up whenever I'm wrong. I'm sure it's often. Anything you want to say before we start this week's episode?
No, just always go with the usual. Please rate and reviews on iTunes because it helps more people find the show. We've got a nice wee community going at columbopodcast.com. We want to increase the size of that community, so if you're interested in speaking to other Columbo fans, nip on the comments there and get involved in the conversation. And like I say, ratings and reviews help more people find the podcast so we can grow that group. So if you've been listening for a long time and you haven't done that, then please, it takes a few seconds.
And as we always do on the podcast, Ian, before we start dissecting and getting into the meat of the episode, you give us this week's summary.
I do. Forgotten Lady is a story with a painful twist. Grace Wheeler, a faded star, dreams of reviving her career against the odds, but requires the funding of her wealthy husband, Dr. Willis. When he refuses, she stages his suicide before proceeding with her plans for a musical comeback. In a unique set of circumstances, Columbo is unable to gain any evidence of worth from the words or behaviour of the accused. Without that assistance, can the facts speak for themselves, or is the lieutenant doomed to frustration?
Thanks, Ian. Start off in a large house.
Typical of the Columbo episodes we've seen up till now.
My preference.
Yep.
There's a man in bed. An elderly man.
He's got his pyjamas on.
He does. He's watching a news report of a musical premiere on the red carpet. And we see the female star.
Yep.
She's slightly older as well. Not
Perhaps.
older than him, but older than the younger generation.
Sure.
And she's being interviewed. And in this interview, she reveals a plan to stage a new show and revive her career.
Yeah, Broadway revival.
Mm-hmm. The man in the bed seems quite taken aback by this claim.
Yep.
And he then turns his TV off to read a book.
That's it. The stars were named, I think, as Diamond and Wheeler.
Ned Diamond and Grace Wheeler. So Grace is the star of this week's episode.
She is.
The man in bed was her husband.
Dr. Willis.
Yes, Dr. Henry Willis. And he's a good deal older than she is. And
Certainly
she's
looks
no
that way.
spring chicken, apparently.
Well,
That's the sort of theme of the episode, that she's getting on, she's desperate to revive her career. Now, I have not an issue, but it was slightly surprising.
yep.
Janet Leigh, who played Grace Wheeler, and we can talk about her later, but just now, she was only 48 when this episode was recorded.
Playing up a wee bit, maybe.
Yep. But it doesn't appear that she was aged in any way. So she wasn't someone at 48 being aged to look 68. I think this was just the perception at the time that at 48 she was
Over the hill. Maybe.
over the hill and old. Now, just to put that into some sort of context, Nicole Kidman is 47. Sandra Bullock is 50. Sharon Stone is 57. And Julia Roberts is 47.
They're still leading ladies mostly.
Still leading ladies, not over the hill by any means. But I think perhaps that Hollywood had changed in such a sort of a short time from perhaps the musical heyday to where it was at that point, and that it's not just the change in years, it's been a complete sort of revolution from that old, maybe the studio system.
Okay. That seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm. But I just thought it was quite amusing that at 48 she was
Washed up.
Anyway, from the old man in the bed, we go to a car and we see Grace and Ned Diamond being transported away from the premiere.
Yeah. They're discussing this Broadway project that she's just sprung on him as well as everybody else.
She's very excited, isn't she?
Oh, I think she sees this as an opportunity to be a star again.
Yeah. But she's like a little kid.
Absolutely.
Christmas Eve.
Perhaps Christmas Eve's a good one, yeah.
And what we understand here is that this partnership of Diamond and Wheeler,
Yeah.
it's been a long-term one, perhaps like Fred Astaire and Ginger
Yeah, and he's indicating he's no longer able to
perform.
because she's wanting him to direct and produce this production.
Yes. And he reminds her that it's going to cost at least $500,000, but she seems quite confident that she can acquire this.
Well, she doesn't
capital.
even, she says she'll spend it, so she acts as though she has this money.
Mm-hmm.
And he's more cautious.
Yeah. We return to the house. Now, at first I thought, but I don't think it is, it looked a little bit like the Chadwicks'
Okay.
residence from Lady in Waiting.
From season 1.
From season 1, episode 5. But I don't think it is on further examination, but perhaps someone can let us know.
Maybe it's been used somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. So she returns to her home and her husband, who was the man Henry we saw in bed.
Yeah.
And the maid confirms that he is in bed and gets her a brandy.
Yep, and she sneaks into the cupboard and takes some pills from a jar.
Yes, we're not sure what those pills are at first, but it turns out they are sleeping pills.
Yeah, presumably she's taking them for her own purposes at this point.
Well, the way she does it suggests otherwise. It does seem slightly... She waits until the maid leaves to do that.
Well, yes, but whether she's not meant to have them or they're not prescribed to her, my assumption was they were for herself, but maybe not.
Yeah. She then enters what appears to be either a dressing room or her bedroom.
Possibly.
And we see her take out a cat suit and this robe type thing. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think you wear that these days.
Yeah, the fact that she takes out the cat suit suggests that the plan is already forming.
Oh, of course it is.
So that would back up your point about the pills, although when she eventually does use the pill, she makes it appear like a sudden discovery or sudden realisation.
Mm-hmm.
She has pictures of herself all over her wall, which we've seen before.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of, I wouldn't maybe go as far as saying narcissism, but
Ego, anyway.
she certainly has a lot of ego. Well, maybe in fact I would say narcissism, because she enjoys watching reruns on a perhaps nightly basis of herself.
Yes, in films.
Yeah, in her own home studio. She goes up to the bedroom, and we have the chauffeur who was driving them, who is known as Ray. Now, he's more than a chauffeur.
He's also their butler.
Butler, I think he's a general...
Yeah, I think he's like the master of the house type of thing, not insofar as a traditional, he's responsible for a lot of things in the house.
So he brings a glass of milk to Henry, the doctor.
Yeah, and pills.
And Grace enters in high spirits and tells Ray as he leaves that she wants to watch Walking My Baby tonight. That's one of her movies.
That's it.
Now, I said earlier, she is like a kid on Christmas Eve. And in fairness to her, he bursts that bubble immediately. Now, she's off a performance, so she's been at the premiere, and naturally you have adrenaline pumping through your veins, and you're on a high from
Absolutely.
performing.
I took that exact note. He was a bit of a buzzkill.
Yeah.
He didn't need to stomp on her dreams that night.
Not that night. He could have said, listen, we'll chat about it in the morning, get a good night's sleep, you performed well. But he immediately tells her that he did see her on the TV, he heard her revelation, and he will not be financing it. As you said, it's a buzzkill. We have a clip.
I saw you on television.
Oh, you did? How nice. And then you heard my exciting news. I just blurted it out.
Yes, I heard. And you know I don't approve, Grace.
Oh, why? Why?
What about our trip around the world?
Oh, we'll do it another year.
Why do you continue with this preposterous idea to resume your career?
It's not a preposterous idea.
Where will your financing come from?
Oh, from you, my darling. From you.
I am not investing $500,000 in a Broadway musical, Grace.
Your investment will be safe. It will double, maybe even triple once the play opens. And besides, the money is a mere drop in the bucket to you, Henry.
$500,000 is not a drop in the bucket to anyone. With the possible exception of the Shah of Iran and Howard Hughes.
He tells her that she's living in a fantasy world.
Yes. And it's clear that she is.
And her mood changes very quickly from that sort of playful, upbeat. I mean, it's a strange one because we've just talked about her starting a plot here to kill this guy.
Yeah.
In the previous scene. And now she's coming in and she's all upbeat and cheery with him as if she genuinely expects him to help her.
Yeah.
And then her mood turns really quickly.
But that could be to do with what we come to learn later on.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, whether it's to do with her issues or whether it's something different, if it's just her playing a game, maybe.
One of the questions I have is that we heard in that clip there that she believes that $500,000 in 1975 is a mere drop in the ocean to him. Now, he is only, as far as we know, a doctor.
Yeah.
For $500,000 to be a drop in the ocean, you have to have considerably more than a few million.
Well, absolutely. I would guess on today's money that's somewhere between 2 and 3 million, maybe.
Yeah. So where does that? I mean, doctors are well paid, but she was a movie star.
Unless he's independently wealthy.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
That's true. But when you have an episode like this, you're not meant to assume too much. You're meant to have been told he could have been a massively successful businessman.
Yeah,
and there's kind of an easy explanation, but to say that you're a doctor, then for us to have to sort of guess, it's
or
odd.
it could be that he's managed her earnings from her career if they've been married at a young
But in that
age.
case, then she would not be asking him.
Well, who knows? In the sort of patriarchal society, it could be that he has control of all the money.
But you'd have thought that
They should have maybe raised that.
Arguing in that point, yeah, doesn't really matter too much, but it's always a question I have when I watch the episode.
Yeah, she calls him a stubborn, stuffy, sick old man.
Yeah.
He says, "Be reasonable."
See, this is one of the issues that I do have with the episode that I mentioned at the top of the show. I know a lot of people in Columbo in the episode, and a lot of people in general, have a certain sort of sympathy with her. And I find it hard to be sympathetic. This is it's a greedy, horrible murder.
Selfish.
Very selfish. Spoiled. It's again looking back to the child. It's a spoiled child who can't get something and has a tantrum, but with dire consequences. And
absolutely, it's a bizarre way to go about things.
She's not been threatened. There's no one looking to expose her. It's not that her back's not against the wall. She has wealth. She has a nice, very comfortable lifestyle.
Absolutely.
He's not an unpleasant man. He's a very realistic man. it appears.
He seems to be. He's protecting her.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do have issues with... She's not... There's certain, as we know, certain Columbo killers where he'll have a glass of wine or share a cigar, and you can understand why.
Yeah, I mean, even if you compare it to the most similar one in Requiem for a Falling Star, that was a much more sympathetic situation.
Yes, definitely.
Because, she had to murder 2 people, really. But
she didn't have to be. No, I know what you're saying, yeah. She didn't, it wasn't out of pure... She was put in a position where that was an option.
Yeah.
But in this case, Grace has not been put in any position.
No one's been anything but kind to her.
And it's not even as if, that's the thing, it's not even as if she is a total nobody and she needs to get back to where she belongs. She was at a premiere.
Yes,
on the red
still doing
carpet,
okay.
so she's still doing okay. Yeah, so that's one of the issues. I don't have the same sort of sympathy or empathy with the character.
I mean, her husband says to her here, "I know you didn't marry me out of love." So the implication is that he was either wealthy or at least in a position to help her career get started, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but certainly there seems to be some sort of arrangement there. And he points out that their life hasn't been that bad.
I'd imagine it's been very, very pleasant.
Perhaps. She's not indicating that she's unhappy with him.
No.
She doesn't want to...
Again, I'm just going back to she's been spoiled. She wants to have it all. She wants to be the star.
Yeah, I mean, if he was prepared to finance this, she would be more than happy to remain as a couple, doing coupley things, going on their holiday around the world or whatever else.
There is no hint that she has another lover, that she's they're perfectly...
Yep.
It seems perfectly normal, apart from she wants to be the princess of the star, and she can't accept that she no longer is.
Yeah.
Dr. Henry Willis was played by Sam Jaffe. He died in 1984, aged 93. He was Oscar nominated for his performance in The Asphalt Jungle, and he was also in Ben-Hur, Ben Casey, and the original Batman.
Who did he play in Batman?
Can't remember, a couple of episodes.
Oh, right, okay.
Wasn't a regular star.
Still born in the 1890s.
Yeah. As we've discussed, it appears that she has anticipated his response, because when he leaves, presumably to go to the bathroom, she opens the pill that she had stashed and tips it into his milk.
Yeah, see, the impression I got looking at that was that she thought to do that in the moment, realising that she had the pill. So whether she had the idea originally, forgot she had the idea, and then had it again, or whether this was her plan all along and she knew she was going to do this, I'm not sure.
I think it was definitely her plan. You may be right in that she is forgetting as she goes.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was just a thought at that moment. She's got the catsuit.
It's hard to go through this part of the episode without talking about what happens later on, but she forgets things during the episode, but there's not a consistent pattern.
No.
She forgets Columbo's name, and she forgets that she killed her husband.
She forgets the dance moves.
But she remembers other things.
Yeah. Well, as they mentioned, she is able to recall things from the past easier.
Sure, but she remembers other recent things.
Yeah.
It seems to be almost indiscriminate. Yeah, but anyway, she's added an additional sleeping pill to his milk. That's not going to kill him, though.
No. We move on to the screening room, the home cinema.
Yeah.
And Raymond starts the movie from a small projection booth, and she sits back to enjoy one of her old films. And we go back to the bedroom, and we see the doctor. He takes his second and legitimate sleeping tablet and continues to read.
Yep, and drinks his milk as well with the other sleeping tablet in it.
After a few minutes, she leaves through the patio and goes to the car in the garage.
This is a wee bit chancy. How does she know for sure that Raymond's not going to stick his head round the door or look out the window?
Yep. She goes and gets the gun.
Yeah.
Or a gun. And then we see Raymond leave the kitchen to go and make a reel change. A little bit like in Double Exposure.
Yep, so that sort of system there as well.
But Grace has, for her, fortunately returned in time.
Just in time, much like we saw in Troubled Waters, when the Danziger had to get back into bed after his escapades.
Yes. And then when Ray leaves a second time, she removes her robe to reveal the cat suit, and then she puts on a pair of gloves.
She does. We should mention, actually, we found out in the previous scene with Ray and Alma that they're a couple, they're a married couple.
Yeah, he seemed a lot older as well than what she was.
Yeah, I'm not sure how these things typically worked, if you would take in a husband and wife team to be your housekeepers. I don't know if that was standard or common.
Could be.
Who knows? But we thought, did we see it before? Was it in Suitable for Framing? Was there a man and his wife were both staff?
Yeah, yes, you're right, Suitable for Framing. They were left £1,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We go to Henry's bedroom, and Grace enters, and she locks the door from the inside. He, by this point, is asleep on his double dose of sleeping pills.
As you would be.
She replaces the book that he has been reading with some files. She removes his glasses and places the gun into his hand.
At this point, I thought she might be staging a suicide for him.
That's what she is doing.
To be fair, I noticed it before she put the gun in his hand, which kind of gave it away.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't take a
No,
lot
there was
long,
astute observation.
No. And she shoots him dead. And this is the other issue I have as well with not being sympathetic to her. It's a horrible, close-up, personal thing to do, isn't it?
It's quite brutal.
Very brutal to hold his hand, your husband's hand, and shoot him. Not in a moment of rage.
No.
Not.
I mean, there's no indication that her illness affects her emotions or affects how she feels about anything.
That's why I do have issues with this.
Yeah.
It's not really acceptable. We'll get to that.
We take a look down the stairs at Raymond and Alma, who are watching Johnny Carson on TV.
Yes.
They don't hear the shot.
I thought that was chancy as well. Now, it transpires that the house is fairly large and they were in an area where they couldn't have heard, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing that she has never experimented, Grace has never experimented with shooting a gun in the house and establishing whether they could hear it or not.
No, and I can't imagine she was capable of planning it close enough to know, they'll be watching the TV at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I suppose her thinking would have been that even if they did hear it, the door's locked. So at the very least, she's got a good few moments to make her escape.
Yeah, unless they go for her first.
Yes. In which case she's in trouble.
Yeah.
Grace then leaves the bedroom from the window and escapes down a tree.
Looking quite athletic and lithe in the process.
Oh yeah, a bit of the touch of the Catwoman's about her.
Definitely.
She was known for being very physically able
Right.
back in her day.
Okay. She then goes back to her home cinema, and there's an issue with the film. I didn't really pick up what was going on here.
Well, the reel had needed changing. It ran out.
But it wasn't meant to have run out, because otherwise Raymond would have been through.
Yeah.
So there's a broken piece of film. This
Yes.
wasn't clear to me watching the episode. I didn't know what was going on here.
Yeah, what's happened is it's broken. She's fixed it.
Yeah, but I don't think that was made clear.
No, it's quite confusing, all this changing of reels these days.
I was thinking, well, what's she doing? Why is she touching the film? If she just lets it play out, then it's fine.
Yeah. After she repairs it, Raymond, he appears and he makes the change that he thinks he's needed to do.
Yeah, but then she melts away the film that she's had to cut off, which doesn't make any sense either. Why is she covering that up if it was a normal thing to do?
Yeah.
I don't understand that part of that scene. I don't get it. I mean, I can work it out backwards from seeing what happens later, but at the time that I watched this scene initially, I didn't know what was going on.
So we're back in the screening room, and Raymond speaks with Grace at the end of the movie before checking in on Henry.
Yeah, he's seen the end of Johnny Carson in the kitchen and he's headed through. And he asks if she needs anything. She says no. She asks him to check in on Dr. Willis.
Yeah.
And then retires to her bedroom or her boudoir or however you're going to put her.
Yeah, and we see her put on her act. Now, it looks as if she actually believes she was on her own.
Yeah.
And she hears Raymond shout to try and get the attention of Dr. Willis. And you can see her face change. And at first I thought this was just her putting on her game face, as it were. But I think...
Well, that's the thing. When does... We're told that she doesn't have any recollection of killing him.
Mm.
So when does she forget it? Because that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. It is unbelievable. You wouldn't, I don't think, in that her condition, go from within 2 or 3 minutes to killing someone to not remembering, perhaps over periods of time.
Especially when you've made a detailed plan and just executed it.
Yeah.
I don't think it... I'm not a doctor. I can't speak to how these things work.
Okay.
But...
We're not cops either, but we make a good bash at it.
No, I made a citizen's arrest today.
Did you?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so Raymond gets no response from Dr. Willis's room,
Yeah, Grace comes running out.
and then there's a quick cut. But before we move on, Raymond, the butler, was played by Maurice Evans. He died in 1989, aged 87. Known for roles in the Planet of the Apes and other Apes movies, Rosemary's Baby, Bewitched, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., 2 episodes of Batman where he played the Puzzler.
That's a good name for a villain.
Oh yeah.
Hope he was a villain.
A bit like the Riddler, but isn't it? It's a bit lazy.
No, it's completely different.
Oh yeah, puzzles and riddles.
There's no Z's in Riddler.
No. Z's.
Yeah.
Right. But interestingly, he is or was regarded as one of the great Shakespearean actors of his day.
Patrick Stewart of his time.
2 Tonys he has, or had one.
There you go. Accomplished.
Very, very accomplished. It's now, we're back at the house and the exterior, and it's a quick cut, and we see Columbo arriving.
Yes.
It's now the crime scene.
We kind of got a clip from this at the top of the show.
Yeah. He's very dishevelled this time, isn't he?
Yep, this is reminiscent of A Stitch in Crime to a certain extent, where he's been hauled out of his bed. He's not sick like he was that time.
No, he's unshaven, he's tired, desperate for a coffee, just like me.
There you go.
He asks the maid Alma for a black coffee, and as you say, he notices he has forgotten his watch, and he admits that we're lucky he didn't turn up in his PJs.
Yeah, I mean, we're told it's 1:30, so it's not very much time that's passed, because it was back at 1 already when the body was discovered.
As he's waiting for his coffee, he nearly falls asleep standing up.
More or less.
We're up in the bedroom now, and Columbo is told it appears that it's been suicide, and he notices the book has dog-eared pages.
This is going to be crucial later on.
Yes, and he is also told that the file on the body is a recommendation for prostate surgery, which is also going to be crucial later on.
It is.
And then we have a funny little scene where Columbo doesn't have his notebook on him, and Raymond gives him a loan of his notebook.
Yeah.
He can't work the pen, which is a twisty pen.
That frustrates Raymond that anyone could be so silly.
Yeah. Simplicity itself, I think he says.
So Raymond explains that he and his wife have been watching Johnny Carson. Now, I was quite interested to see if anyone could tell us whether this was from an actual episode of Johnny Carson or if it was recorded for Columbo. If it was in the same studio.
I think, now I've not done any research into this, Ian, but I think, I'm taking a wild guess here. I don't know who the interviewee was, but I think she may have been the actress who was in Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor.
Okay.
Now, I'm just taking a wild punt there. I don't know. It might not be her.
It could have been anybody, but we're going to name her.
It just looks... It sounds like it might be her. This
Okay.
it might be wrong. Might be wrong, so tell me if I am wrong, but I think that might be who the actress is. Probably not.
So you think if it had been filmed for this episode of Columbo, they would have had Ned Diamond on or something like that?
Yeah, I think if it was a fictitious interview, they would. Well, if you're going to do a fictitious interview, you may as well go the whole hog.
Yeah. Okay. Do we know if Johnny Carson and Peter Falk were pals?
I don't know. Again, someone perhaps some American who watched it back in the day can tell us.
That'd be good to know. Anyway, the upshot of that is that the show ended at 1 a.m. And Raymond had last seen Willis alive at 11 p.m. reading his book. Seemed cheery enough.
Columbo's got a few questions and a few...
He's already got an issue with the sleeping pills.
Yes, why take a sleeping pill if you intend on killing yourself? Good question.
Yep, but the coroner counters with the fact that he must have pulled the trigger because of cadaveric spasms.
Yeah, and Columbo's impressed with this term.
Very.
Although there's the obvious, explanation to that, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So Columbo leaves the bedroom and he moves downstairs to the hall area.
He's sussing out the geography of the house here.
Yeah. And Raymond tells Columbo that Henry kept a gun in the car and that Grace was in the bedroom when she heard shouting and came out to see what was happening.
Yeah, he's quite keen for Columbo to speed things along. He wants them out of the house.
The family doctor arrives and he tells Columbo that Grace is sedated and that as far as he was aware, Henry was not suicidal.
Right, so here's my theory.
Go for it.
it's a known fact that people with conditions like Alzheimer's or dementia can have them accelerated by anaesthetic.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if Grace is fully aware of what's going on up until she's sedated here, and that has some effect on her recall, and it's at this point, when she sleeps, that she loses the memory of committing the killing.
Very impressive.
Who knows?
It's certainly well worth it. It's a valiant effort there, Ian. Well done.
Who knows if the scriptwriters even got that far into thinking about the specifics of the medical condition?
I'm guessing not, but I like it.
Yeah, it could be.
We should run with that.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Columbo is about to leave, having been told he can't speak to Mrs. Willis, as he's calling her at this point, doesn't know who it is.
But he pops back upstairs to the bedroom for one final
No,
thing.
before that, he's about to leave, and Raymond calls him back because he wants his notebook back.
Yes. He rips the little pages off it, gives him it back. But Columbo goes back up to the bedroom
Yep.
to check Henry's slippers.
He looks at the soles of the slippers, which are pristine. They must be fairly new slippers. Even if you wear your slippers around the house for 5 minutes, the soles get worn away.
But they certainly don't appear to have been worn outside.
I speak as an experienced slipper wearer of many years standing. Yeah.
Yep. Now, I think we mentioned earlier, before we recorded, that one of the biggest plot holes here in Columbo's thinking is that he could have got the gun at some other point.
Yeah. Well, yes. Columbo never considers the fact that he might have been considering suicide for more than just that evening. Yeah. So if he spent many weeks thinking about whether he should kill himself, he could have had the gun out of the car and in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And been havering on it, like going back and forward. Yeah. And it just so happens that at this moment he decided to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, there are weaknesses in the thinking.
Yeah, I mean the fact that that's even a possibility would be, I suspect, some form of doubt creation in the trial process.
Sure. We return to the house and it's the next morning.
Yeah, Ned Diamond's arrived.
Yes. He arrives to some very beautiful music, I thought.
You thought so?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, as you know, Ian, I'm a big fan of musical theatre.
Oh, as I am myself. I was at musical theatre just last week.
What were you going to see? Or what did you see?
Spam a lot.
Yeah, I'm not...
It's more like a pantomime for adults.
Yes.
But I am a fan of musical theatre.
Good.
Not ripped.
Ned is showing up to see Grace in her bedroom.
Yeah.
And he tells her he's going to postpone their show. But Grace has other ideas. We've got a clip.
Grace, I've arranged with Pat to postpone the dances call. And we'll kind of move things.
We open in the fall. We can't have any delays.
But Grace, after what's happened, there's always another season, and we can postpone the...
Postpone? What did Rosie do the night her father died? She performed. Best performance of her life. Remember?
But Grace, Rosie was a character in a film.
But there's no difference. Besides, Henry would have wanted it that way. No, it'll all be all right, Ned. As long as we have faith in each other.
I wonder if that's a nod to the fourth wall when she says there's no difference between a character in a film and her situation as a character in a TV show.
Yeah, there could be a little nod there. But I think what it shows us is that she is near delusional at this point. And that backs up your theory.
Yeah, she's just woken up from her sedation, so I wonder if this is the connection. I think it's fair to assume, at least as of now, she has no recollection of having committed this murder.
Columbo arrives with Dog, but Raymond is not pleased to see him after cleaning up his mess from the following evening.
Yeah, not Dog's mess.
No.
Columbo's mess.
And Ned arrives downstairs to make a call.
This is brilliant. I like this wee bit because he's on the phone. He doesn't know that Columbo's a cop. He thinks he wants an autograph.
Yes.
So Columbo comes over with his notebook and Ned signs it.
Yeah, and then Columbo recognises him and he goes into his fanboy mode.
He does. He just flicks a switch.
And he tells him that his wife dragged him to all his musicals when
And Ned takes offence at this.
Yeah. But he smiles.
Yeah.
He understands. I think he just has a laugh with Columbo. And then Columbo asks him about dancing in public. He's got 2 left feet.
Yeah, and Ned has some good advice for people who have 2 left feet.
Become a critic.
Yes. Much like we are for the Columbo podcast.
Of course, yeah. We sit here and pick apart the writing and the directing. And the
People who are far better writers than we are.
That's true. A little bit of trivia, perhaps, while we're here on this one.
Yeah.
So, in this scene, Columbo talks about how he is a big fan of gangster movies.
He's mentioned this before.
Yes. And he specifically mentions Edward G. Robinson.
Okay.
And Falk starred in Robin and the Seven Hoods, which Edward G. Robinson had an uncredited role along with Mike Lally.
There you go.
And Falk was also in Murder Inc., which, as the name implies, was a gangster movie. Robin and the Seven Hoods is actually on the other day. I watched a little bit. Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
Good movie.
I'm sure it was. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of that sort of thing.
Also, just while we're talking about that, Peter Falk played Sam Diamond in Murder by Death in 1976.
And is it true that Ned Diamond is the father of Neil Diamond?
Yes. Who is the godfather of Neil Young.
There you go.
Yep. Not Dustin Diamond,
No.
who was in Saved by the Bell.
A completely different person.
Yeah.
So there you go, there's some trivia for you. Columbo's shown up to the bedroom by Raymond, and he is shocked
And delighted.
to discover that Mrs. Willis is not any old Mrs. Willis.
No, it's Grace Willis, and of course, him and his wife, Mrs. Columbo, are massive fans.
Well, they knew her better as Grace Wheeler.
Yes.
There's strong hints of Requiem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mentioned it during the Requiem episode. I think this does it better.
Yeah.
They've obviously...
Although I was less persuaded that his wife was a genuine fan
Yeah.
of Grace Wheeler.
Sure, she didn't turn up.
She didn't even bother showing up for the cinema
Oh.
showing. Although, we'll come to that.
Okay. Again, a little touch of Columbo being really inappropriate. Her husband has just killed himself.
Yeah, and he's fanboying all over her.
Yeah, he shouldn't really be doing that, really.
No, he shouldn't. He does refuse her coffee and toast.
Mm-hmm.
But he's concerned because things don't add up.
No, he immediately asks her if she is convinced that her husband took his own life. She says yes, but Columbo asks about why he was reading and had taken sleeping pills, if that was the case. And she has the too many answer trope here.
But if we're saying that she didn't remember it, then this is the difficult thing here because...
Well, yeah, I mean, this is why I enjoy the episode. Love the performances. But when you start looking at it, it's weak. Very weak. But it's a better episode than if you ignore all these little things.
Yeah. I mean, I think they do drip feed the idea that she's losing memory and doesn't remember stuff.
Oh, they do.
But they don't do it in time for you to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Certainly at this stage of the episode. I pick up on it in a couple of scenes' time.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, probably about 4 or 5 scenes. It's ages after this I get on top of this idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could maybe have started drip feeding us a wee bit earlier.
Yep. She suggests that he was reading and he had taken the pill before looking at the medical report. Then he read the report and got depressed. But Columbo says that no, that wouldn't have worked because he would then have to have gone to get the gun and his slippers are clean.
Yeah, he couldn't possibly put on shoes.
She is again insistent that that's what happened, or that it was suicide.
Yeah, she points out the door was locked from the inside, so how else could it be done?
Yeah, but there's a great big window with a tree right next to it. And
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
we
suspend your disbelief for a moment there, Columbo.
yeah. Janet Leigh played Grace Wheeler.
And well-known name, and a well-recognised face.
Yes. She died in 2004, aged 77.
Not very old.
No. But as I said at the top of the show, she was 77 when she died in 2004. This
Yeah.
was shot in 75.
Yeah.
So she was by these standards, today's standards, she was a young woman.
And her face would have been recognisable because, of course, she was the face of the movie posters for Psycho, wasn't she?
Yes. She was the mother with Tony Curtis of Jamie Lee Curtis, who crops up in the future in a Columbo episode.
Spoilers.
Oh.
Stop.
Oscar nominated in 1961 for Psycho, and she won a Golden Globe for it. Also known for being in The Fog, Touch of Evil, Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I've had a few Man from U.N.C.L.E. connections recently.
Yep. Walking My Baby, or Walking My Baby Back Home.
Is that the one that we just watched in the middle of this
Yeah.
Columbo episode?
Yes, it is. She starred in that.
Right, so it was actually her film.
It was her film, so when we saw the clips of the women singing and dancing,
Yeah.
that was her.
That's remarkable.
Yeah. And she's got a star on the Walk of Fame. Interestingly, she didn't play... She keeps referring to the role as Rosie,
Yeah.
but in the actual film, she played someone called Chris.
It could be to do with what they had the rights for and what they're able to say. Or maybe she's just forgotten what she was told.
Again, maybe they're just messing things
That's
up.
a fictional version of the same movie.
Yeah, but no, that was definitely her.
There you go. I have to say that when that clip was playing, my 6-year-old came wandering through and started singing along with Walking My Baby Back.
It's quite catchy.
It was quite catchy.
I don't think I've seen it, but I'm quite tempted now to track it down and give it a watch.
Give it a watch.
It doesn't last an hour and 45 minutes.
No?
I think it's an hour and 35.
Wow, so she had to be away for even longer. That's
Yeah.
another problem with the evidence here. Unless Columbo counts the credits.
We move through to Henry's bedroom, and Columbo notices that the window door was open. But Grace says, now this is the thing, she says that it was not humanly possible to get up the tree outside as the branches of the tree were cut off.
For that purpose.
For that, yeah, it might make it slightly harder, but it was a tree. You could have got up there with a rope, with having okay,
A ladder.
a ladder. Back in the day, there wasn't any, free climbers, or what do you call those people that can jump?
Yeah, I'm not sure, yeah.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you mean.
But still, anyone with reasonable...
Spider-Man could have got without any trouble.
Yes. The window was open. Just because the tree...
Columbo never considers that.
That is a weakness as well.
Yeah.
As you said, a ladder.
Absolutely.
Or, I think someone could get up there with a bit of strength.
Agility.
Grab, shimmy their way up.
Yeah. There's a interruption from Raymond.
Yes. But what I would like to say as well, just on that before we leave it, is that it sort of, I've got to say seals her fate, but it doesn't because of how the episode ends, but it seals her guilt.
In Columbo's eyes.
Yes, because if he accepts that no one can get in that way, it only leaves that as a means of exit.
Yeah.
So,
And yeah, really, if she was trying to say someone else did it, then she would want to leave that possibility open.
yes, but she wasn't. She was trying to make it look like a suicide.
Yeah.
But it's a mistake on her part.
Okay.
Yeah, you were saying, so Ray interrupts.
Yep, the vocal coach has arrived to give a lesson.
And this is another point, as you mentioned, that is drip fed to us because she forgets the days.
Yep, that's true. I didn't pick up on that at this point.
And she is a little bit embarrassed and asks Columbo if he thinks it's appropriate for her to be having a singing lesson just after her husband died.
Yeah, it distinguishes it a bit from ones like Johnny Cash having the party on the day of the funeral, where it's just sort of a wanton disregard for the deceased.
Yeah.
She genuinely seems to wonder.
Mm-hmm. And Columbo gives her his blessing and says that when he has to when he has some downtime, he normally goes bowling.
He's mentioned that before as well, hasn't he? We haven't seen him bowling yet.
I think he'd be very good. We know what he's like at golf and things like that.
Yeah, and pool.
And pool, yeah. She then invites him and Mrs. Columbo to a private screening of one of her movies sometime.
Yep, very generous.
He seems delighted.
Well, happy enough, yeah. If
But-
he's suspicious that there's a killer in the house, he's probably going to want to be around the house. So that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think in a personal, private level as well, he's happy. Because I think he does enjoy the star. She's obviously a very attractive woman.
Yeah, it's probably nice just to be around them.
Yeah.
Plus, he's trying to avoid going back to the police station.
And his wife.
She's invited.
Yeah, but he never takes her anywhere.
He took her on a cruise?
No, she took him. She won it in a raffle.
Fair enough.
He didn't spend too much time. He would rather solve murders.
He would.
Yeah, could remember on that cruise, he could have said, "It's not my jurisdiction, I'm off duty."
He could have, but then there's a murderer around. He probably sees it's protecting his wife to chase them down.
I don't think so. I think he just likes to get away from her.
Why did he marry her?
But that's what you did. You had to marry someone. You couldn't be a bachelor back in those days.
Well, it's just saying that she's some kind of beard.
I'm not saying anything. Just that Columbo doesn't seem to spend a lot of time with her.
That's true.
We go to a hospital. And
He normally gets angry in hospitals.
yeah, there's another little trope here. He explains to the doctor or the surgeon that he was late, his car broke down.
Yeah.
And he's asking about Henry. So this is a Dr. Landsberg.
His name was on the notes that were found with the body.
Yes. So he is a doctor involved in the prostate issue.
Sure.
And he tells Columbo that Henry was aware of the condition and the state of the prostate. He would have understood that it's usually a highly successful operation, but that he was a doctor who preferred to treat with medicine first. And
yeah, they call him a diagnostician, which they suggest that he wants to view surgery as a last resort. He wants to try all other methods.
I don't think we go down that route these days too much, probably with good reason.
Well, I think there's maybe a bit less trial and error nowadays, so you know what's going to work and what's not. For most things, not for everything.
Yeah. But what we get from this scene is that we know that Henry was not in any great danger or fear of his life.
He wasn't going to kill himself over this.
No. It wasn't a suicidal issue.
Yeah. We then get a bit of padding that is quite entertaining.
Yeah, this is the first of a few scenes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite apparent that these have been put in just to get the episode up to the length that they want. But
yeah, it is padding, but it does develop the character because it re-establishes our knowledge. It gives more background about Columbo.
Yeah, we know that he's prepared to be corrupt.
Yes. This isn't quite at this stage point
Not yet.
No, but
yeah.
There, yeah. This is a Sergeant Lefkowitz.
I said there's a sergeant from downtown.
Yeah, a female sergeant, and she tells him, she pulls him up on a few things.
Yeah, she's chiding him about his lack of pistol training. She says it's been 5 years, the computer can't trace him in the system.
And the fact that he hasn't updated his employee photograph.
This is 10 years out of date.
Yeah, and that he has grown his hair in since that picture. His wife likes that.
So he does some things for his wife.
Yeah, it's probably easier because he doesn't have to go and get his hair cut. It's scruffy.
Yeah, he must get it cut sometimes. It's not like it's down around his shoulders or anything.
Yeah, occasionally because the job would require it. You can't get him with a ponytail.
Oh.
Goddamn hippies. But yeah, she's telling him to get himself down the pistol range and pass his tests that he needs to do to show that he can shoot.
He's meant to be down every 6 months, isn't he?
And he sort of says he will as the elevator door shuts and he disappears.
Yeah, he's got no intention of going.
No, of course not. From the hospital, we go to a bookshop.
Yeah, we find him chatting with the owner of the bookshop about the particular book that Dr. Willis had been reading. A
very light-hearted book. Did you take a note of the name?
I didn't write it down.
Okay. The Transformation of Mrs. McTwig.
Is it a real book?
No, it's a made-up book.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. We get a little bit of background. There's 2 points about this book.
Did Mrs. Melville write it?
She didn't. No, I wish she did. It wasn't a murder mystery.
She may have had a sideline.
Should have. Yeah, well, maybe the author was the pseudonym, nom de plume of Mrs. Melville.
Could have been, yeah.
Who was the nom de plume of... No, Mrs. Melville was the... Mrs. Melville wasn't the author. It was Ken Franklin and Jim Ferris.
Was it a Mrs. Melville book?
We're getting ourselves... It's far too meta here now, isn't it? We're inside about 5 different...
layers,
yeah. Okay, it's like Inception for... No. Right, let's get back out of this.
I've planted the idea that Mrs. Melville was an author. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, she might have been a crimes... Like Murder, She Wrote, wasn't she? She was a crime...
She could well have been solving crimes and writing books. We don't know because we haven't read the books.
Yep, you're right. Anyway, point of this scene, 2 things. Henry only bought the book a few days ago.
Well, we don't know that. We totally bought it on the 30th, but it doesn't tell us what date it is now.
No, we do know. He counts it out on his fingers and he tells us later in the episode.
Yeah, he tells us later in the episode.
Yeah, you see him counting it out on his fingers. 3 days.
Not really confirmation.
Yeah, it's enough.
Why did he count 3 days out on his fingers?
Enough for 3. Enough for me. So he only bought the book recently, and that it was a very light-hearted book. Not the type of reading that you'd be doing if you're in a suicidal state.
I think that's a strange assumption to make, but yes, that's what Columbo's thinking.
From the bookshop, we go to Ned Diamond's studios. Now, was this familiar with you at all?
The rehearsal room?
Yes.
Now, I'm trying to think of previous rehearsal rooms. We saw the ballet class in Etude in Black.
Yeah, now I have no confirmation of this at all. I haven't even bothered watching the Etude episode again to see if it is, but I would stake a large quantity of cash that it is the one where he goes in to talk to the neighbour, the young girl, and he's a little bit inappropriate. I think he says, I enjoy watching. No, wasn't that one.
That was you.
That was me. No, that was, enjoy watching was in Double Shock with Julie Newmar. But he says something inappropriate about this one as well.
Yeah.
When he's in, there's a young girl taking the class and
we covered that in that episode.
But anyway, point being, I think that that is the same ballet studio.
It's entirely possible.
In this episode, it's Ned Diamond's. And Ned is watching Grace rehearse with the cast as Columbo enters.
Yep.
Now, she's having some problems.
She's making mistakes.
She is.
She's
and
not taking responsibility.
She's not. She's blaming everyone else.
Yeah.
Just on that, quickly. The chap who she was dancing with, the leading man in the rehearsal was Fred Loring. He was played by Scott Salmon, who died in 1993, aged 50 in a car accident.
Oh dear.
But he was a renowned choreographer.
Ah.
This was his only acting role, but that was his job. So
Okay, well, it's an appropriate role then.
yeah.
A bit like Mickey Spillane as an author.
Yes. So she gets a bit harassed and she sort of storms off in a huff, and is stopped by Columbo at the door.
She doesn't know his name, and this is where I've got my note. Maybe she's forgetting the steps. There's some kind of Alzheimer's or something like this going on.
He compliments her on her dancing, and the ego is massaged because she stops and she sits down to talk with him.
Yeah.
And he has brought with him Henry's book.
He has.
And he's got an issue with the book being dog-eared, and just in general trying to work through what might have happened.
Yeah.
So we have a clip.
Your husband bought this book 3 days before he died on the 13th. According to the butler, on the night of the 13th, he read from this book. The first dog year would indicate 66 pages. The second dog year is on page 122. That would be the second night's reading. And Raymond is sure he saw him reading that night, too. On the third night, the night that he died, there is no dog year.
What particularly interests you about that?
Well, that indicates that he didn't do any reading, but the butler is positive that he saw him reading when he brought him his sleeping pills and milk.
Forgive me, Lieutenant. I'm missing what you're getting at.
Well, maybe I'm just a nut for details. But the book was found closed on the night table. Now, he must have closed it and put it there. But why didn't he dog-ear the page?
I don't know. Maybe he just forgot to.
From my experience, ma'am, I've discovered that people don't usually forget to do that which they usually do.
I think Columbo's in the wrong track here. This is not good. What if he was considering suicide, so he's staring at a page in the book without reading anything? He doesn't get any further on.
Yeah.
What if he finishes the book?
What I would say is that it is not sturdy evidence, but it's a reasonable clue. It's
Something
enough,
to think about. But
yeah, something that when you collect all the clues together, you've got enough.
we talked about this, I think it was in Etude, we talked about there was a stage suicide.
Yeah.
And we talked about Columbo and the show generally having a lack of insight into mental health, and Columbo's need for every suicide to be explainable by information leading to a conclusion that they had no option but to kill themselves. And I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, in fairness, I don't think we can criticise Columbo for that. I think it was the attitude of the time.
Well, it has to be, because he's, in the context of the show, he's right to think like that.
Yeah.
Whereas in real life, people kill themselves for any reason or none.
Of course.
And not always by behaving rationally in advance.
Well, I was going to say that, yeah, you can't expect someone who has committed suicide to have been acting rationally before they do so.
Yeah, I mean, some will and some won't, so it's not
but yeah,
a good investigation in my view.
it's not. But remember, we're doing it. This is in this. We have to take the sort of attitude and the stance of how people thought back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grace is still baffled. She doesn't understand why anyone would want to kill him.
No.
There's no motive. If it's not her, there's no motive.
And again, we're left to try and work out, is she been genuine? Is she covering? Has she been a good actress here? Or does she genuinely not understand how or why this happened?
Yeah, I mean, even with the hint of memory issues, I still didn't get that she wasn't remembering the killing at this point.
It's not clear.
No.
We leave the studios and Columbo goes to his car and there's a man sitting in it.
Yeah, this is the subplot carrying on about the gun range. Lieutenant Flaherty, which I think is that out Back to the Future, somebody was Flaherty in that one.
Nope.
Where Michael J. Fox played a Flaherty in something else?
McFly.
No, he played a Flaherty in something.
Did they? Lord of the Dance.
No, I don't know. I'll come back to it. Lieutenant Flaherty is in Columbo's car, and he's following up on the meeting with the sergeant.
Yeah.
And there's more information now. It's not 5 years. Columbo was right. The computer didn't have the right information. It's 10 years. He's going to be suspended if he doesn't get to the gun range, and he's also going to be suspended for not carrying his gun.
Not that he's not carrying a gun. He said he doesn't have a gun.
He said it's back at headquarters.
Yeah, okay.
So he agrees at, I think, 4 p.m. the next day he's going to go to the range and get the stuff done.
We head back to the house and we're in the garden. Raymond confirms with Columbo that he went to Henry's bedroom at 10:50 p.m. to give him his milk and his sleeping pill.
That's right.
In the garden, he is raising the flag to half-mast.
Yeah, Columbo's not sure why.
Yeah, why it's not going all the way up.
Is that as far as it goes, he says. He's not quite cottoned on.
And Raymond also confirms that the doctor had retired 6 months prior and that he keeps or kept his records.
Yeah, I think he's
in the
continuing
cellar.
to consult with other doctors, so there's still some ongoing files, which presumably would be confidential and that the law would have no right to see due to patient-doctor confidentiality. But anyway, Columbo persuades Raymond to let him have a look around.
Yeah, because he wants to find out if Henry had diagnosed his own health.
Yeah, and this reminds us a bit of Mind Over Matter, with the files, the secret files in the cabinet. Meanwhile, inside the house, Grace is talking to Ned. She's fed up with Columbo, so she remembers obviously seeing him over and over again. That's not gone from her memory, although his name is.
Yeah.
And she also wants Fred fired from the production, and Ned's protesting that he's really good, and she just needs to, give it a shot. And she points out that she's the star here. Ned ruined his own career. He had the car accident. He had all the drinking problems. Nobody would hire her on her own, so he owes it to her to get this to work.
Emotional blackmail.
Essentially. She wants to top the bill. She doesn't care about Fred or how good he is. She's the star.
Yes. But at the end of the scene, Ned declares his love for her.
Yeah, bizarre. Out of nowhere, Ned declares that he's always loved her. He wanted to marry her back then. And she says, what about now? And he says he still feels the same. It's not apropos of anything, to be honest. It just comes out of nowhere.
Well, it comes out of no, but it's important for the final scene.
Yeah.
We go from there to the ice cream or an ice cream stand.
Yeah, Columbo's buying 2 ice creams, one for himself and one for his dog.
And internal affairs pull up and demand that Columbo gets to the firing range the next day at 4 p.m. or else his badge is getting pulled.
I mean, these scenes with the police could have been in any episode. There's nothing...
We just need to extend the episode.
Yeah. Anyway, it's good. I quite enjoy it. It's just kind of something that's nagging at him in the background.
Yeah, and the scenes don't outstay their welcome.
It makes you wonder if, because in the middle of season 4, there were a couple of episodes with guns. You had one when he fired a gun, and you had one when he got somebody to fire a gun for him. So you had Playback, and you had Troubled Waters. And not in that order, obviously. And it made me think, well, maybe people have written in over the hiatus at the end of the season. We never see Columbo training, or does Columbo have a license for his gun? Why does he never carry a gun?
Yeah.
And maybe they've kind of said, a bit of fan service, we'll do this. It could be.
Could be.
Anyway, they go to the downstairs sort of lobby area of the Wheeler home.
Grace is throwing a party, and she and Ned put on a little dance show. Perform one of their acts.
Presumably one that they remember from their youth.
Columbo arrives with Dog, and Dog's covered in ice cream.
Yeah.
And he beckons over Raymond, and he tells him he wants to go upstairs to check out the bedroom again.
He lingers long enough to see the end of the dance, and then he sneaks up the stairs, at which point we see Dog escaping from the car, and you're thinking, oh no.
That could,
Here's what's happening. Ice cream all over the star.
I was just grateful that Mrs. Peck didn't run that household.
She would have been unhappy, although I didn't mention in this, but it was funny at the start, Raymond started following Columbo around with an ashtray.
Yeah. Columbo's now in the bedroom, and we see him go out onto beside the tree.
Yeah, he's going to try and escape from the balcony by himself down the tree.
Yeah, and he does it quite ungracefully, but fairly easily.
He drops down. I wondered at this point, does Peter Falk do his own stunts?
I think he may have. Well,
did you only see him from behind when he's...
We remember, what one was it?
Falling down the hill?
Yes.
In Greenhouse Jungle?
Yes.
We thought that was an accident, though.
True.
So, yeah, the thing is, you see him kind of face on, close up, talking, but you don't see him hanging except from behind, so it could have been anyone.
And by this point as well, he's a massive star now in the show.
Yeah. So it may or may not have been him doing that. I wonder if anyone knows, they could let us know.
But what we do find is that Grace comes out and she discovers Columbo lying face down on the grass with Dog running about and lapping at his face.
So yeah, she thinks that Columbo's not being candid about the reasons he keeps stopping by. And she talks about the magic of show business and he's enchanted by it and that's why he keeps showing up.
Yes, well, that's what she does is Columbo explains that anyone could have climbed down the tree.
Yeah.
And she immediately tries to deflect the train of questioning or thought.
Why does she do that?
Because it's hard to climb down the
She
tree.
doesn't remember.
She might remember this at this point. That's a problem.
We just don't know.
Yeah. And yeah, so she tries to sort of charm him and talks about the sort of glamour and show business that's around. And then we head back to Ned's studio. And a cop is waiting for Columbo. And Ned sees this other cop, asks who he is and if he can help. And the other cop's not for chatting too much, is he?
No, he says he's here to meet Columbo. He's told to meet him at this time, at this place.
Yep. Columbo arrives. And Ned wants to talk to Columbo. And Columbo wants to talk to Ned.
Yeah, but he needs to speak to the police officer first.
Yeah. So why is this other police officer here?
Essentially, Columbo's paying a bribe to have someone do the test for him and falsify the records.
Yeah.
So essentially, Columbo should be struck off the register for this. He shouldn't be a cop anymore.
And the other cop as well for accepting the bribe.
Two of them.
Yeah.
They should be in jail, to be honest.
Probably on death row.
Well, no, that's an exaggeration. I think we're keeping it
You think?
realistic here.
Okay.
Just
Jail. Prison term, what, 10 years?
I would say there must be some law for this. I would say a couple of years in
For
prison.
bribing
Bribing a public official, yeah.
Yep. Should be.
So I think we can bear that in mind for all the future episodes.
Yeah.
Or forget
Although
it ever
this is the
happened.
least of his legal rule bending that he does in this episode.
You think?
I know. We'll get to that.
Yeah, he goes off to have this chat with Ned after he gets rid of
Sorry,
him.
before, the little bit that I like is when the other cop tells him that basically he owes him one. Columbo gives him a little kiss, blows a little kiss before he leaves through the door. Nice little quirk, not seen that before.
Sure.
So, yeah, Ned tells Columbo to leave Grace alone.
Yeah. And he says, no, I'm not doing that.
That's what he said. Ned asks him, will you be leaving her alone? Columbo says, nah, can't do that.
And Columbo goes into more detail. He explains why he's needing to talk to Grace. He explains there's no reason for the suicide, which we've already talked about.
Yeah, he comes right out and tells him, I think she killed him, and we have a clip.
But why? Why would Grace want to kill Henry?
For her career. To get the money to finance her career.
But he offered to give her the money.
Dr. Willis would never have done that.
How the hell would you know? Let me tell you something, Lieutenant, about being a star, which Grace was. It's a crazy, ecstatic, explosive blow to the ego. Very few people are lucky enough to be able to handle it. And unfortunately, Grace wasn't one of those. She's overly ambitious, I know that. But murder? By someone I've known and loved for years? I can't accept that. I won't accept that.
I think she did it. She invited me to her house tonight to watch a film. I'm going. If she means anything to you, you ought to be there. Because I think she did it. 8 o'clock.
I really, really enjoy. I think that's my favourite scene in the episode.
That's a good one. Just before he says that clip that we heard, Diamond correctly indicates to Columbo that depression sometimes has no cause. Mm-hmm. And Columbo just dismisses this, which I think, again, shows a lack of understanding.
Sure. Did you like the performance? Or did you like the character of Ned Diamond?
I did. He was much more sympathetic in that role than I think we've seen some others who are similar.
Yeah.
We saw someone in Requiem who was more sort of a antagonist.
Yes. Ned Diamond was played by John Payne, who died in 1989, age 77. He was a singer and a dancer in musicals himself, and also had lots of appearances on the big screen, such as in The Restless Gun, The Big Heart, and The Razor's Edge. Columbo was in fact his last screen role.
How come?
Don't know, retired. I mean, he didn't die until 1989, so he must have simply retired from that. Maybe he performed on stage.
He was maybe so upset at the murder and death that followed.
I do know that he had a around 68, a really bad car crash, which put him out of the business for a couple of years.
Which they refer to in this episode.
Yes.
His character has a car crash.
Yeah. So it may have been, I'm only making assumptions here, but maybe
Art
health.
imitating life.
Yeah, it could have been health issues or
Could have
whatever.
been. Could have been.
One interesting thing about John Payne is that he could have been the first James Bond. He optioned the right before any James Bond movies were made for Moonraker. And he had it optioned for 9 months, but nothing came of it because I think he couldn't get the rights for the rest of the books. But he could have been, if he'd had his way, he would have been James Bond. And that is also sort of tied in. I think that he reminded me a lot of David Niven.
Right.
Just how he looked and how he acted.
Okay.
And of course, David Niven played James Bond in the spoof Casino Royale, I think.
He did.
Mm-hmm. So, there we go.
It's a good reconnection there. That would have made his career.
Would have, yeah.
It reminds me of the guy that sold his Apple stock for less than $1,000. That would now be worth over $1 billion.
Yeah. How'd you like them apples?
That's unfortunate. I could be wrong in the numbers there, but it's in that sort of ballpark, from not very much to an awful lot.
Yeah. We go to the house again.
This is a good moment. Columbo getting his costume change going.
Yeah, he looks very dapper, very dashing.
Suited and booted, very swish.
Shoes very well polished and noted.
My grandfather always said the way to check the measure of a man is to see if he's polished the back of his shoes above the heel.
Okay. So your grandfather would not have been too impressed with yourself, bearing in mind your admission on by Dawn's Early Light that all this nonsense in the army about polishing boots, you weren't up for that at all.
Well, you see, you're transcribing that too literally. It's a metaphor.
I'm just going to have a quick glance down, Ian. Yeah. I wouldn't say it was too literally at all.
Sandals and socks are perfectly acceptable in the 21st century.
Alma is helping Grace get ready for the imminent arrival, apparently, of Mrs. And Mr. Columbo, who are arriving as guests, and they have champagne and caviar for them. We know Columbo certainly likes his caviar.
Well, we saw that in
Double Exposure.
Double Exposure with Robert Culp, yeah.
And as you say, Columbo arrives in his tux, but no wife.
He wants to know quickly whether Diamond's had a chance to speak to Grace, and he hasn't.
No.
He says that Mrs. Columbo's under the weather. Now, do we think he even told her about this?
I told you, it doesn't. He wants to hang out with
The rich and famous,
a rich and famous, a god recently widowed movie star, and he thinks he's in there.
Well, there's two possibilities. One is that she's not even a fan in the first place.
Yeah, but you still...
He was lying about that.
Sure, but even if you weren't a fan, you'll be aware of who this woman is. And if your husband gets invited to her house for a private screening, you don't go, well, not really my thing, I'm not going to go.
No, I suspect he didn't invite her.
No, he didn't. Of course he didn't invite her.
She's not under the weather at all.
Plus, if we're being fair to Columbo, it's because he's not going as just for
He's
pleasure.
Working. And also, would you take your wife to a murderer? So
no. One who can't remember what she's doing and could turn at any moment? No. She asks Columbo, Grace asks Columbo which film he would like to view, and it's Walking My Baby, which is an hour and 45 minutes in length, apparently.
Yeah, well, Columbo knows about the length, and he knows it ran longer on the night of the murder.
Yes, 2 hours.
Ned can't account for that.
No.
It's kind of a weird scene. To be honest, my notice this is a creepy scene. There's two men discussing the woman's guilt whenever her back is turned. It's kind of dark. It was uncomfortable to watch.
It was dark, metaphorically and literally.
I was meaning more metaphorically, but
yeah. But it was dark. And I thought there was a nice scene where later, just shortly, where Grace comes through and she's standing in front of the screen.
Yeah.
But Columbo tells Ned that the length of the movie really gets to the heart of the matter. He says that there are 30 frames missing from the film.
Yeah, they're watching this same one, and he's rigged this one to break as well.
Yeah. So they go to the screening room. They start the movie, and it immediately breaks.
This seems almost cruel to me. At this point, Columbo knows that this woman is very ill and could die the next day. And he's basically setting up a sting operation here.
Yeah. Grace goes to repair it, and Columbo confirms that he did sabotage it. And he wants to check how long it will take her to repair it. Because there's this 15 minutes, and if she can do it in 2 or 3 minutes, then it leaves a good 10 minutes or so
Yeah.
unaccounted for.
And if she knew what was going on, she could just take 15 minutes to repair this and she's covered.
Yeah. Ned seems to accept the fact that she's able to do this in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then Columbo provides his theory. And he also explains to Ned that he has discovered that Grace has an inoperable, fatal brain tumour.
Yeah, and it's going to kill her in,
Anything.
the way he says, a week, a month, 2 months tops.
2 months tops, yeah. And this is quite sad as well, because we have discovered that not only have they had a long working relationship,
Yeah, he loves her.
he loves her as well. So he's effectively telling her partner,
Yeah,
breaking the news that she's about to die.
that's it. And she doesn't know about it. It's been hidden from her.
But Columbo admits that he doesn't even think that she can remember killing Henry.
That'll be his judgment based on how she's been responding to him during the course of the investigation.
Grace overhears the
not
conversation, and she's not. Here is a clip.
Kill Henry. All you've got is proof that it wasn't a suicide.
What are you talking about? Are you still saying that my husband was murdered?
Yes, ma'am.
How can you possibly think that someone in this house killed my husband? He took his own life.
No, ma'am. No, he didn't.
Just a minute, Lieutenant.
I want to know what the girl that this lieutenant is trying to say.
Ma'am, the other evening you weren't...
This has gone on long enough. I killed Henry. I took the gun out of the glove compartment. I came through a rear window. I went up to his room and I shot him. And I made good my escape over the balcony.
You don't know what you're saying.
True, Grace. It's
No.
true.
No, it can't be true. Why? Why would you do anything like that? Why?
Grace. For you, Grace. For you.
The fact that she believes him proves that she doesn't remember.
Yeah.
And she goes on to say that she's going to put the show on hold until he's out of prison.
Yeah. I've said before, I'm not as sympathetic towards her, but it's a fairly heart-wrenching ending. I have more... I feel sorrier for Ned.
Yeah, it's a tough one for him.
Like I say here, he's just discovered
I feel
it.
sorry for Dr. Willis, who
Yeah.
not only was living with the pain of his wife being next
Yeah.
to death, but then died.
At her hands.
Yeah, he doesn't know that, but yeah.
Yeah. At this point, we're almost finished, and Columbo watches...
Well, Columbo's made the assumption that Ned's just trying to cover for her. He doesn't get it at first.
Yeah. Ned tells Grace to rest and just watch Rosie.
Yeah.
And Columbo then agrees with Ned that it might take a couple of months to break Ned's confession.
Yeah, and that's when Columbo comes to the realisation that he's just done this so that she can die, not being aware that she's even suspected
Yeah.
of this.
And they leave the house as we see Grace tearfully
Watching the film,
watching the movie.
and there's no gotcha.
Not got you at all.
So it's an interesting twist right at the end that makes you kind of rethink everything that you watched.
Yeah.
I think that's different for me than obviously for you, because you're watching it knowing the story.
Yeah. But I'm trying to put myself in a position of watching it, what I thought the first time I watched it as well.
Yeah. I can imagine it's a very different experience watching this one a second time.
Yes. So, a really enjoyable episode. Like I say, there's lots of weaknesses in it in terms of just the sort of clues and lack of gotchas and the rationale and logic.
Yeah.
But I think the performances, the setup, the style, the music outweigh that. And
It's a really nice piece of entertainment.
will we look at a bit of trivia and production information?
Let's get the rest of the trivia before we do this sort of recap.
Okay. 14th of September 1975 at 100 minutes. Harvey Hart was the director, third of 4 Columbo episodes, the last one being Deadly State of Mind.
Yep, we've already, it's his third one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about him being in Star Trek and stuff like that in the past.
William Driscoll, he was a writer. We've seen him before, or we've seen his work before.
Okay.
This is his second of 3 Columbo episodes, the first one being Troubled Waters.
Not that long ago.
No.
So it makes it tougher and tougher to fill show notes with links when you get these obscure people with multiple appearances.
Fortunately, it makes my trivia easier. I just have to say, spoke about him already. So a little bit of trivia. This is the only time that Columbo effectively lets the killer off.
So far.
So morally, Ian, do you have an issue with Columbo's approach and his stance, his actions?
Right, well, there's obviously two layers to that. You've got the corruption within the department and the fact that he's paying internal affairs not to monitor him too closely so he can operate out with the framework of the law.
Yeah.
Which is potentially the plot for a dark show, but we don't touch on that too much. It's
Not only is he corrupt, he's the corrupter.
He is the villain of the piece.
Yeah, especially with internal affairs on his case, as we know. He's taking a risk here.
Oh, he is very much at the bleeding edge of the criminal side of the police.
Yeah. Unless, of course, he is paying off internal affairs as well.
Well, that's entirely possible, isn't it? We can't rule that out. He could be paying off everybody right up to the commissioner.
I think he's a
He
Kaiser.
already got one of the commissioners arrested, remember?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, he's a real sort of Kaiser Soze master criminal here, isn't he?
It makes you think, I wonder, are these episodes told from his point of view? Are we only getting his perspective? Is it did the commissioner really commit that crime? Perhaps Columbo committed the crime?
Possibly. Let's get to the episode review, Ian.
Okay.
The killer.
Yes.
And I suppose we can talk about the killer and the motive in the same...
Yeah, I mean, I think you thought she was a vile, evil, twisted woman.
No, I didn't. I just thought that she was not as sympathetic as what perhaps we are led to, or meant to think. I was more sympathetic towards Ned Diamond.
Well, we talked about her illness, and it affects memory, but there's no indication from any of the other characters, and Ned in particular, that her personality or her behaviour is altered.
Yeah.
So I think we can assume that other than not remembering things, her behaviour is as it would always be. So she's responsible for her action.
Yeah, I think what we can sort of garner from the episode is that she was not, she was quite egotistical. She has been watching movies of herself for a number of years. So she does have that sort of spoiled diva, yes. She's a diva. Not suggesting that all divas. I'm not suggesting that Mariah Carey or who's the other one.
Well, I think there's a difference between being a singing diva and having that diva attitude.
Yeah.
I think there's a slight distinction.
So motive.
There wasn't a motive. She wanted her career to continue, even though the market had shown that she was not a bankable star.
Yeah, unacceptable and weak.
Selfish, cruel.
I'll go through the clues. Tell me if I have missed any. The sleeping pills, the tree, the dog-eared pages, the type of book, the gun in the car and the slippers, the non-fatal medical condition and therefore the lack of motive for suicide, the length of the movie, the 15 minutes, and the brain tumour.
I think you've also got the fact that the bedroom door was locked from the inside.
Yes.
So that kind of narrows down the field.
Yeah. And there's no gotcha, but let's assume for a moment that Columbo was going to play by the book.
It's a tricky one because some of his earlier cases, I'm thinking particularly of Dick Van Dyke in Negative Reaction. You are relying, or he is relying on the behaviour of a guilty conscience.
Yeah.
Or someone with knowledge of a killing to expose the murderer. In a case like this, he doesn't have that. The facts he has don't prove that she killed anybody beyond a reasonable doubt. But you could probably say that about a lot of the other cases. If the killer wasn't making mistakes, if the killer wasn't basically incriminating themselves through their actions or omissions, there might be quite a lot of these cases where he doesn't get to a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, but I think in this case, there is absolutely no evidence which should allow someone to deviate from the suicide narrative. There's nothing that proves it was not a suicide.
I think that's a plausible scenario for anything. A defence lawyer in court for Grace here would be saying, you can't say for certain this wasn't a suicide. He could have been contemplating suicide over a period of time. He could have brought the gun into the bedroom on an earlier date. We've not seen any evidence that it was definitely in the car that day. He could have been rather than making a split-second decision to kill himself, thinking about it on and off over a longer period for any reason or for no reason.
Yes.
And on that basis, all these little clues don't add up to anything other than
There's no
quirky
evidence.
behaviour.
Yes, there's no evidence here. And in terms of proof, I'm going to pull out the proof clip. We've not used it for a number of episodes, but here we go.
I love this.
Will you give me proof, Lieutenant? Where is your proof, Lieutenant?
Yeah, nothing at all.
Quite right too. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Show him the proof. It's not going to be proof here. So you wonder maybe Columbo might be aware of that. Maybe that's why he doesn't put up too much of a fight at the end of the episode.
Yes. Could be. Anyway, that's us. Overall, enjoy it.
That was a really enjoyable episode. I could watch that one again quite happily.
It was a very enjoyable episode. Next week, Ian.
Season 5, episode 2.
We have A Case of Immunity.
Ooh, diplomatic immunity. Or is it some kind of viral...
We'll find out. We will find out. I think we should just say thank you to everyone who listens, downloads, rates and reviews. We really do appreciate all your interactions, and thanks for giving us your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep it coming on the ColumboPodcast.com posts and on Twitter, wherever else you find us. Those are the main ones. And we will see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio.
You have been listening to the Columbo Podcast from Heard Yet Media.